Are you curious if gentle parenting is the right parenting style for you? There are many parent styles to choose from, and what may work for you may not work for another mama. All children are different and might require a different style of parenting, but if you feel like you are always yelling at your kids, maybe it's time to consider incorporating gentle parenting into your flow to see if it helps you calm your sanity these days. Today we are sharing our parenting styles and how gentle parenting gets incorporated into the mix. So grab your drinks, pop in those earphones, especially if you have little ones around, and let's dive right into episode 81. Welcome to Mamas and Mimosas. I'm your girl, Roni.
I'm Marianne.
And today we have a lovely special guest. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Darlene Rodrigo.
Darlene. And she's here to be our co-host.
Yes.
Cheers.
Look in the eyes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so today we are discussing gentle parenting.
Okay.
It was requested, and Roni's been begging for this topic.
Because this topic is, I'm trying to understand gentle parenting.
I'm glad you say that because when I got the notification of the topic, I thought, what the fuck is gentle parenting? I've been a mom for 15 years.
And you never...
And I was a child development major. Let me just throw that in. And I never heard of this term. I didn't want to Google it because I wanted to have a fresh sense of answering this for you. Mm-hmm. But that's a real question.
Okay. So since it's a real question, let me give you the answer of what they consider. Gentle parenting is an evidence-based approach to raising happy, confident children. This parenting style is composed of 4 elements: empathy, respect, understanding, and boundaries, and focuses on fostering qualities you want in your child by being compassionate and enforcing consistent boundaries. So that is what the actual definition of gentle parenting. Now, I feel like this can go so many ways because the few people that I know that incorporate gentle parenting is more of basically that they say you practice not yelling at your children. You more talk to them gently. You're just
that's funny.
Even if they're standing on the table acting a fool, you're get down off the table.
No, that doesn't work for me. That sounds like a joke.
Well, I feel like a lot of us, our generation was raised on the authoritarian one where we fear the parent. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is opposite, right? Where you don't want your kid to fear you.
Yeah. And I think you are giving the child more of maybe not an option, but more of okay, I'm not just going to discipline you this way. I'm going to talk to you and you are involved.
The opportunity for them to calm themselves first. Yeah.
You know people that do this?
I do know people, but the funny thing is, it's actually real. And the people that I know that have done it, they've tried it, let me say, for a little bit, and then they kind of don't stick with it. Because I feel like if we're being honest, which we are on the show, that's hard to stick with because in life, let's just be real. Things get crazy, and sometimes, you gotta get it out if your kid is driving you crazy. And I just can't imagine. And I'm not knocking it for if there's somebody that it works for, because there probably are kids who are gentle enough where you can take that approach. But every child is not gentle, right? And I don't think that's gonna work for every child.
Can I just ask, is this a TikTok thing, or how did you find out about it? Because I really want to know, how this works for someone. And I know the people don't stick with it, but it's a thing enough that we're talking about it.
And it says evidence-based. So whoever is doing it, is, saying that, it actually works.
Mm-hmm. It is one of the methods of parenting that people incorporate. I mean, that's not a strict set of rules to follow, but people will incorporate it. Parts of it into their parenting.
Where did you hear about it from?
I honestly think that, did Janelle try
Janelle
it?
was all about it.
Janelle actually tried it for a while. I don't even think she lasts with it.
She still uses it with her youngest.
She? Okay,
I think.
Yeah.
I remember her talking about it in one of the episodes because let me just say this. I've listened to you guys since you guys have launched. Aww. So thank you again for having me on. I love the idea of moms coming together to discuss topics because if you tried finding that, you're going to have a hard time finding other moms. I mean, unless they're your friends, but finding like a podcast or an online outlet to jump to when you have that time.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember Janelle discussing, and Janelle and I have been friends since high school. And it's very Janelle-like. And I know if you're listening, Janelle, you're laughing, but it's very like you to try things and to read books and to be good at it. Okay? Yeah. She's such a structured type of human.
She does her research.
She does her research. She's been like that since we did chemistry together. Like, I was failing, and she was like, well, I'm still going to read and try. And she actually got it. Like, I didn't get it. I think I got a D.
I'm out.
Like, I was so checked out. But Janelle, I applaud her because she does a lot. She puts a lot of time and energy into everything she does, which is why I thought it was so high of her to, back off a little bit to focus on her things, because that's how she is. And like, it's true. Like I was able to forcefully take a break during COVID. And that's when I realized that, holy shit, like I'm missing out on a lot of my kids' life. Yeah. And I didn't realize I had mom guilt. Like I thought I did, but I didn't realize it until I had that time with them. And I have like a very heavy workload with my career and with 3 kids now. So the last time we talked, I only had 2, and I got surprised with the baby.
And can you tell our listeners what you do, what your workload is, so that they know?
And you can also repeat like how old your kids are, just in case there's new listeners.
Okay, so let's just jump off. Let's see. I produce a morning show for LA on Coast 103.5. It's the Ellen K Morning Show, and I've been with Ellen since she started on Coast. If you remember, she was with Rick Dees on Kiss FM, and then she went to work with Ryan Seacrest. So she worked with each of those guys 12 years. And then they realized she's good. She needs her own show. So they gave her own show on our sister station, Coast, which has actually more listeners than Kiss. Wow. We're the top billing station. And I'm not just saying that to brag, but it's a big deal, because if you're going to survive in LA radio, you have to bring in the money. Yeah. And so she jumped over to start her own show. Again, powerhouse in the industry, but also a mom. And a family lady, and her son's in everything. Like, he was born on the radio. She breastfed him on the radio, and now he's at Stanford. Wow. So like, what an accomplishment, right?
What an accomplishment.
And so it was really cool to be able to work with her and find out. I didn't know I was going to work with her. I actually got the job 6 months before she started her show. And this was we just hit our 7-year anniversary. Oh, so awesome. That was a big deal. And I was nervous because I was like, I've seen her on the Kardashians before. I don't know how, I don't know if we're going to I don't know if this is going to work, but she is just so down to earth and so real and understands what it is to be at football banquets the night before and to take a kid to practice and have dirty cleats in the car and, all that mom stuff.
And stuff. Yeah.
So fast forward, I've been with her since she launched her show, and it's been awesome. And we just kicked off the holiday music, in case you guys know about that. Yes, we are the official holiday music station. And so we did that. And now it's not like if we're smooth sailing until the end of the year. This is the Super Bowl for us. So we are nonstop content creating. Like, when you think about the topics you build for this show and the prep that goes behind it, I always like to put it in this perspective of a wedding planner, right? Because a wedding planner, let's just say Ellen is the bride and I'm the wedding planner. Okay. You can't expect the bride to have the best time and to be all there mentally if she's worried about all the details behind the wedding.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's where the producer steps in, and the producer is the wedding planner. And it's funny, I've always been good at party planning and the details and like, how are we going to do the napkins and what are we going to do for party favors? And it's so funny how that worked into my life with my career, because I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years with no job. Okay. And the first 5 years of my life having my 3 kids, and this is where I'll introduce them now. I have my firstborn, Bella, my secondborn, Little Bear. He goes by Little Bear. And then his real name is Alex. And then I have a new baby Ray. And Bella will turn 15 next week, you guys. So crazy. So
that's a huge
it's a huge gap. So I have I'm just going to call her 15. She's 15. My son just turned 13 last month. And now my baby just turned 1 last month. And this wasn't a planned baby. I don't think any of my kids were planned. Which is fine. Which is fine.
You are busy, Darlene.
But let's say Bella has, I would consider Bella having severe special needs. She was born with Down syndrome and then a few years after was diagnosed with autism. So she has this dual diagnosis. You could throw in epilepsy because she's had seizures too. It's just like a mixture of intense things in her life that have changed her life and will always stay.
Yeah. What would you say with her and her special needs? Like, what would you say your parenting style is with her? Like, do you have to be more gentle with her, or how do you? Like,
Bella's a mean girl. Okay. So if I removed,
Bella, don't listen.
Yeah, if I removed, the category of Down syndrome and autism, and let's just say she was a neurotypical, that's what they call an average kid.
Okay.
If she didn't have that, she would still have the Rodrigo attitude.
Okay.
And it is not nice. It is harsh. It is very, she's like her dad.
Okay.
And her dad and I'm very like, yay, let's party. Let's do this. Let's be happy.
Like
and then her
upbeat.
dad is like, how much longer? I'm done.
Oh my
Like, F everybody. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have patience for that stuff. So we're night and day, but Bella, even though she can't use her words to communicate, she's nonverbal. We don't get each other.
Okay.
And so that's always been hard for me. But I have learned methods because I've had to figure something out, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like this whole gentle parenting thing just sounds like a joke to me. And I'm not knocking it, but because for my life, I don't see it even being an option.
Okay.
I had to learn quickly, and it didn't come quickly. It took me years, and I've been working on this, and I'm still working on it. But Bella has several therapies, and one of them is behavior therapy. And I guess you can take that into consideration of training a dog.
Okay.
It's those same principles, right? Like, first, we're going to give you this if you do that, right?
Oh, like a reward.
Right. So it's like reward strategy. God, that took me so long. I'm still not good at it, but I'm better at it. And so now she responds. Whereas my husband, he literally trained dogs as a side business. So he is so good at it. And
So you always said they're good with each other, right? She doesn't.
She's a daddy's girl.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Like the way that she is with him, she won't kind of give him the attitude. And
she
stuff
won't
that she'll
cross
give you
the
at
line,
time.
but she crosses it with me constantly.
That's just moms and their girls.
Yeah,
though,
I know.
think.
I know.
That's
Get
just
ready for
inevitable.
that.
Oh my
It doesn't
God,
even
don't
matter. You
scare
know
me
what
now.
I mean? See how that is? She's just a regular girl. This is just stuff that girls do. They always clash with their mom.
Look, we're girls, so you know how it is to have that girl on girl energy.
Yeah.
And when it's your own, don't think it's gonna be nice.
Scare
And
Marianne.
hopefully she is great to
I
you.
am scared because I was such a bitch to my mom.
I was
so I'm
too.
like, this is gonna be my karma.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter because I was super I tried to be Miss Good, and my daughter is I'm what? How am I getting this back? I didn't even do anything.
Yes, and you have one daughter too, right?
Yes, and
so we
that's
all
more
have
than
one
enough.
girl.
Yeah, and that
It is more than enough. And when I surprisingly got pregnant with this third baby during COVID, I had an IUD. I was not expecting to get pregnant. Surprise, it happened. I'm one of those 1%ers.
COVID babies.
Yeah,
Nothing else to do.
He is such a COVID baby. He is, he's so in. He knows. I don't know how he knows. He knows shoes belong on feet, so he'll put the shoe towards his feet. He can't get it on, but to me, that's you're a genius, because I work so hard with Bella to do basic life skills. So to have one kid be so opposite, my brain is confused. I'm like, what?
But he's probably also watching
His
all
brothers
that,
and
it's-
sisters. Yeah. And so he has all of that. And I know I'm jumping all over the place, but we're going to answer all these questions. So back to the parenting approach. I learned quickly that with my daughter, who had a personality like her father, who's very logical, even though she can't technically say logically what she means, but I know she thinks that way. And she's also very just don't be like that with me. I'm not a girly girl. I'm not your friend. You know what I mean? And so just learning that the behavior approach worked for her was life-changing for me. Okay. And we had an in-home behavior therapist come in Monday through Saturday, 6 days a week, which luckily our insurance covered, because a lot of times you'll have to fight for that. If you don't have good insurance, you can also ask your regional center to help you with some of those therapies. But that was another thing to learn. Like, you would think they would tell you, the doctor would say, hey, you want to try behavior? No, you have to find out for yourself. So if this is your first time thinking, maybe I might benefit from behavior therapy, ask your doctor. If you think your child might benefit from regional center, ask them if you can just get screened, because you don't have to have like a severe special need to get that assistance. And then if you don't have any of that and you maybe have decent insurance, you can ask your insurance for that.
Do they give you different like options with behavioral therapy? Like, would gentle parenting come up in that?
Heck no. No? Heck no. Gentle parenting is not an option with behavior therapy. And I'll tell you this, it does get a lot of flack.
But do they give you multiple options, or they just choose it for you?
No, like, you have to be very specific for what you ask for.
Okay.
So if you're asking for behavior therapy, then you're going to get behavior therapy. And there's a whole science behind it.
Okay.
Like, these people that come in, they have, a lot of them have master's degrees, and then they have to get accredited to have ABA certification. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a nurse and having a BSN kind of thing. It's like, it's pretty hardcore. Yeah. And we have been blessed. We got a really great one. Her name is Chrissy. She just got her master's. She went on to work for a school district doing the thing with special needs kids. And so we lost her about a year ago, but she helped our family so much. And it came at a really pivotal point, because Bella was going through puberty at the time. And it was COVID. And she couldn't talk and all this. And I was like,
darling, you made it through that? Oh my goodness.
But I mean, I give it all to Chrissy, because I could see her being a gentle parent.
Yeah.
She's just like,
see, there's some people that just have that.
I think it has to do with your personality.
Okay.
Because now that I'm thinking about how Chrissy knows the ABA strategies, but when she becomes a mom, I feel like
you see her
definitely.
So you automatically
definitely
see it
being a gentle parent, because she's just a gentle human being to begin with. And I would consider myself a gentle human being. When I need to be gentle, I am very gentle, because my soul is very sensitive. Like, I can feel what Bella's feeling. She doesn't have to tell me anything. I just like lay next to her and I'm like, I'll start crying. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel the frustration. It's like that empathic energy that we communicate with each other, but we're both that way. So one thing that Bella and I share in common, she is just as strong of a empathic person as I am. And I could tell you that learning about people's personalities and their vibes has helped me not only prosper with my career, but has also prospered with my parenting and my relationship. Because it's almost like that whole love language thing, right? Yeah. Like, if you're not going to bother to learn about how your partner loves or needs to be loved,
what's the point?
Yeah, like you're just working against yourselves.
Yeah.
And so I listen to a ton of podcasts, because I drive a lot to work, about 50 miles one way, so 100 miles a day. And then you add traffic to that. I'm on the road a lot.
Traffic.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, LA traffic.
And so then you get addicted to podcasts, right? So even when I get home, I have the headphones on. I call them my ears. My AirPods are my ears, and I'm like, let me put my ears away because I'm gonna lose them. But like, they're plugged in while I'm washing dishes, while I'm folding clothes, and I make it a point to stay on top of certain podcasts that have taught me things that I never would have been open to learning about.
Yeah.
So that in itself takes, like, you have to know that you need help, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't know that I needed help before. Like, the old Darlene, before I was a mom, because I feel like being a mom, it's scientifically proven, it changes you.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
I was just all about myself as a teenager growing up. And then in college, I was like, I don't want kids. I don't want a husband. I'm just going to.
Were you that person?
I was that. I told Alex, we were friends in high school, and he was always wanting kids right away, and I didn't.
Wow. Like, I'm not your girl.
And I was like, no, we didn't even talk like that. It was like, he wanted it with his ex or whatever, with whoever he was with. And he was like, my mom will help us. Like, I'm excited to have kids.
He knew.
And I think because my mom had a baby when I was 13, my brother, had a baby. I'm talking like if he's not related to me.
Are you related to him?
Yeah. And I enjoyed like practically helping her raise him, but I knew like I didn't want this. I wanted something different. Yeah. I wanted to travel. I wanted to have a career. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. I don't know why, but it just sounded cool, I think. So anyway, life happens, right? I end up being with Alex of all people, which is funny. And I say that in a bad way. I don't mean it that way. I mean it that like Alex was always that one guy. That was my only exception. Okay. Like I would go against all of my ideas of my life if it were for you only. You know what I mean? Because we got along so well. Like we were great friends. We listened to the same music. We just like the vibe was unmatchable. Like there was nobody else that topped that the way I felt when I was with him. Mm-hmm. And so when him and his ex broke up and I was like, oh shoot, we're both single and we're still like, the vibe is there. And it was towards the end of our senior year and things happened, right? And we got together and we have been together ever since. I always tell him that. I'm like, dude, you literally changed my life. Like I had such different ideas. Yeah, like such different ideas. And you knew it. Like you knew that I had these ideas, which is fine. But I'm glad I was forced into it to change because I was not a good person. Like knowing what I know now, like I was a narcissist. I was like, when
did you figure this out, or was it during COVID or like?
No. Let me see. I think when I became a mom at 21, I was a young mom, and then I just had such an awakening because I realized, like, look at my little girl who was born into this world, who's going to have to struggle so much, right? The world is already against her.
Yeah.
And I felt like before I was a mom, I felt like unstoppable. Like I had everything. And it's funny. I don't know why I thought that. It's not like if I was the oldest of my siblings, but I just felt like I can do whatever I want. It's only like, let me just focus on me, my goals, my this, my that. Like, who cares if I end
but
this
is pre-kids.
But this is pre-kids, right? And then I have Bella, and like, again, the scientific proof of changing after becoming a mom, everything is about that baby.
Yep. Yeah.
Like your whole world. And then on top of that, when they have specific special needs that you are not able to help.
Yeah, and control of, like it's out of your control.
It's out of your control, and you really have to like spiritually humble down and just hope and pray for the best for this child. That's when I started realizing, like, man, I thought I had it all and I didn't have anything. Mm-hmm. And having that sense, that perspective, that new life brought me new life. Like it was a new mission that I lived for. So had I played out the idea in my head, I probably would have been like a Elon Musk type of person. Okay. like he's very successful, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not knocking him. He's a successful guy. He has like crazy businesses, crazy ideas that he brings to life.
Yeah.
But then he's also this egomaniac that like, I'm going to buy Twitter and take over and do whatever the F I want, right? With your lives.
Yeah.
And like, he literally did that. It almost feels like he did it as a game. Like I can do it because I'm rich enough to do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I thank God, and I thank
he's
the
never
way
gonna become a mom, so he's
stuck
like that.
I mean, he has tons of kids, but
it's
he's
a
not
difference. Like that whole mommy is totally different.
And so, life, the cards did not play out the way I thought they would. Like if I were to statistically think like this is what I'm gonna hand over, I didn't get anything back if I were playing like a blackjack a poker game. Mm-hmm. Like if I was looking at the cards at hand and I was playing Texas Hold'em and I had a pair of aces, because in my head I had a pair of aces, and I was just like waiting for that next ace or maybe a full house to hit. I was just expecting it.
Okay.
But then I got nothing, like, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to use, like, an example. And then I was like, now what? Right? Like, I have a pair, but I have nothing to show for it. And so the idea, like, the transformation, the mom, the person, the spirit, my soul, my heart, everything became about Bella. Like, how can I make her life, how can I improve her life? Because it's already going to be hard.
And do you think because of that, did that help you with parenting your other two children? Like the style that you took with her? Did you were a little more, you got it, so you're like, okay, this approach. Because then you had a son. Mm-hmm. Did the style that you took with Bella, was it the same that you took with your son, or was your style a little different? I feel like each kid, like, you kind of, it doesn't work. What may work for one kid is not going to work for the other.
Right. No, well, having Bella humbled me. It broke me down. I was trying to assemble the pieces because then I kind of like lost myself. And I was like, dang, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Like, this is cool, but this is not what I wanted. But I knew, like, I just had this feeling. I did not know I was going to have another baby. He came shortly after. Bella was in the hospital with RSV. She was in and out of the hospital the first year. Like, I can't count how many times. And we called her the $1 million baby because her hospital bills racked over $1 million in the first year.
Wow.
But seizures and just like, there were a lot of different things that I just didn't know how to fix it. It wasn't a cold, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then I had Little Bear. Bella was a year, just maybe a little over a year and a month. And then I got pregnant. And then I was scared. I was just like, I'm scared. I am so scared. I get so freaking choked up thinking about it because I didn't feel like I could handle it. Mm-hmm. I was like, this is not, I can't do this.
Did you know what to expect or what?
Like overwhelming.
It was extremely overwhelming. And then my husband just kind of grabbed me by the shoulders and was like, we're going to be fine. Just believe me. Just believe me. So I believed him. And it's so funny because, man, Little Bear was such a blessing. Hold on.
Oh my gosh, Darlene.
Let me get some of that mimosa real quick.
Chug.
Tissue.
He was such a blessing because no, you're good. Because he was like a lot like me. he was a lot like his soul, his personality was a lot like mine. And not that I just didn't feel that connection with Bella. Because again, I told you Bella was since birth, okay? Mm-hmm. Daddy's girl all the way. And then I had this boy who was just like all about me. And I was like, holy crap, like, God, this mamas. Love, right?
Yes, boys love their mamas. So, girls love us too. Sometimes.
So I had all this, he was just like, he made me feel like we're going to be okay. Because he would show me signs of hope. Like when I would be coming home from the hospital with Bella, like all sad and like not knowing what am I going to do? Like my goal in life was to keep her alive at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would come home and he would be all happy and like doing something incredible. So he was just the biggest blessing. And then you fast forward because it's so funny. The parenting style, it had to change.
Yeah.
It had to. So, you learn as moms, you're winging it all the time.
That's the key word.
You're
always winging it. You don't know if you're doing it right. You don't know if you're doing it wrong. Like you just are trying your hardest to like keep these kids alive and hope that you make very good adults when you send them out in this crazy world.
And that's where I feel like people say like the gentle parenting comes in when like your world falls apart. Like as the mom, like for example, me, like during COVID, like that's when I mentally was not myself, but then I was snapping at the kids or at Landon way more than I normally would have. Or even like now that I'm pregnant and hormonal, like I'm overwhelmed and then the kids are already driving me nuts. So like I'm snapping more. So I feel like the gentle parenting is like more based off the parent versus the kid. And then like for your situation, like I would say like you would be more empathetic towards your son because you're overwhelmed with your daughter's situation or whatever's going on there. And like, you have to be more understanding of like, if your son was throwing a fit because maybe he's not getting the attention that he needed at that moment because you were busy with bell hour. So I don't know if gentle parenting is more towards like little kids or like, because I don't see it with the older kids. Like, I don't see you having to be more understanding and more empathetic for like the teens or whatever. Right. I mean, you should, but like a lot of what I've read so far is like it's more towards the younger kids just because they're still learning their emotions and their communicating skills. And
that makes sense.
So you have to be more understanding that they don't know what it's like or what they're feeling. So you have to be understanding of that and empathetic for it because you have to help guide them as the parent to control their temper or their tantrum so that they are not just throwing a fit in public and they're more controlled. But there's like all these myths that are like a gentle parented child is more like spoiled because they're getting what they want or they don't get disciplined or whatever. But I don't know. Like that's why I say like you incorporate parts of it. You don't just straight up do it.
I can see that. But too, like, it seems like it would be so hard, like if there's a situation where you're like, you get upset or with the child, like how I think it works for both ways. Like you also have to control yourself in that moment to like not scream your head off, but like that's hard to do. Like, you know,
after you've had a rough day and you come home and the kids do something that's like.
And I think we mimic like a lot of like our parenting style. Like we do what we learn, like what our parents do. So it's just, it keeps going and you're like, well, my parents did this for me, so I'm going to do this to my kids.
Yeah,
like,
I was just going to mention that. Like the three of us are all from we're all different, right? Like we're all moms, but we all had different backgrounds and we're all we're from different places.
Yeah.
So like, where's your family from?
LA.
Okay. And where's your family from?
Fresno, up north.
And then how about when where did your family come from? Your background, your ethnic background and all that.
So my grandma actually, she grew up in the South, so like Mississippi. So she's like real, old school, but my mom and everybody else like literally grew up in LA.
Okay. And yours?
And mine's from the Philippines.
Okay. And then my dad was born in Ecuador and my mom, she's second generation Mexican American. So it grew up in LA, but had parents that were actually the first generation born out here in California, but their parents were from Mexico. And I don't know you guys like that, but I'm pretty sure we were all raised with yelling. I don't know, maybe
like did you fear your parents?
To fear your parents. I don't know if you guys got hit, but
oh yeah.
You know what's funny? My dad got his ass beat by my grandma because she was a single mom from Ecuador and moved the kids out here, had to move out here by herself. I just got this whole story from her because we interviewed her and it was so cool. She had to save up money, work 3 jobs, in 1 year saved enough to bring each kid over, right? So for 1 year they stayed with her sister. Okay. And then she brought my dad, he was 6, and then my uncle was 5 and my aunt was 3. And then she was a single mom living out here, figuring it out, working different places, working different jobs, raising 3 kids on her own. And I could imagine being her. I think about this, like she obviously beat my dad and his siblings because she was frustrated and she probably was beat. And then she knew like I have to instill some fear into them for them to listen to me. And they did, but it's so funny. Each 3 of her kids, all very different. My dad, even though he was probably hit the most because he was the firstborn, he never hit me. And to me, that stood out. But my dad yelled a lot. And I remember when he would yell or he would come home, like, I don't know which is worse. I'm sure I would have chosen him to yell at me over him hitting me. Because my uncle would hit my cousin and we were around the same age and we were neighbors and I would hear my cousin get hit and it freaked me out. But my dad, all he had to do was give me that look And I was like, I'm
Like,
not going to do it. But I will say this, it's so funny because the way I said how my son, my second born little bear is a lot like me. When his dad yells at him, I see that shutdown happen. That same shutdown that happened to me as a kid. And if I could do something to remove that, I would, because somebody, I forget, I heard it on a podcast, but they said, you should try to help your kids out, but also try not to kill their spirit at the same time.
Yeah.
And I thought, damn, like that's so interesting, because if my dad knew, like he improved, right? Like in his eyes, he was like, I'm not hitting my kids, because he hated being hit.
Yeah.
And he didn't hit us. And I love that about him. But verbally, it was also a different type of abuse.
Yeah.
And so knowing that now, I can see maybe whoever stemmed this gentle parenting came from like a really hard childhood where they were like, I would never want to do that to my kids ever. So I can see that. On the other hand, like what you mentioned, Marianne, there has to be a balance, right? There has to be, because what are these kids going to grow up to not be afraid of anything? And we're kind of already seeing that happen. You know?
Oh, yeah. These kids are different today. These kids are totally different.
Mean, we see people breaking into stores, not afraid of getting in trouble, purposefully breaking in, knowing there's cameras, just standing there, taking their time, pulling purses off I'm like, are you kidding me? It pisses me off. And I'm sure it pisses everybody off too. But like, I feel like that is an example of how this is going to affect us in the long run. And if we could just be a little more mindful about how to help the future, right? Using all of our experiences, and we have everything at our hands now.
Yeah.
But again, we're always winging it. We're always trying to figure it out.
We're always.
Well, what I've read, because I obviously don't do gentle parenting. I mean, I've tried and it's like doesn't stick.
I don't have gentle enough.
Like it's supposed to improve the bond between you and your child as they get older. But like thinking on my experience, like my mom pretty much raised me, my brother, and my little sister as a single parent because my dad died when we were young. We were scared of her. She hit us, whatever. Like whatever it took for us to like listen to her. But as I grew up and became a mom myself, like I was like BFFs with her. So I'm like, okay, we were afraid of them when we were young, and I still have a good bond with her. So I don't understand.
Isn't that the point of like parenting is like we're trying to get them, like if they make a mistake, we're like, okay, we don't want them to make that. So we're trying to fix it before it becomes a problem later on in the real world. So, you know, her style of parenting, you may have thought like it was extreme, but like it molded, you know, it molded you to
totally
be this person. And then you had a perfect relationship with her, you know? So it's weird how this parenting thing works out, and you can just...
Like, how did you try to incorporate it? Didn't you say you tried it, and like, were you just like not yelling, or what did you do?
I tried it for 33 minutes to be exact, and I was like, "This is not," and I was yelling my head. I'm like, "Okay, this is not working," because I feel like it also depends on what the situation was. Like, was the child like yelling back? Kid? Was it or which kid? Because I honestly feel like my middle son is very gentle, so I automatically feel like I have different parenting styles with each one of them. Because what if I like yell at my middle one, like he's like breaking, like you can't like yell at him. Like in a sense, I feel like I may be gentle parenting with him and not even realizing it, because I'm more of a talk out person with him, but he doesn't like fall out. He's not a troublesome kid, you know. So if something does come up, you know, I just speak to him and it works. However, I have a 5-year-old and she's a girl, and that does not work. She is just like, her wild personality is just not going to be, I can't talk to her like that because it won't work. Like I have to get my point across to her. And unfortunately, sometimes I have to raise my voice to get it across, because if I talk to her, she'll just think it's a joke. If I come to her and she's doing something and I'm like, I need you to put that down and understand that you're upsetting me. Like, she's going to be like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
laugh at you.
Yeah,
so
right.
Like, for example, with her, if you made dinner and she did not like anything you made, what do you do as a parent now? Like, are you forcing her to eat what you made? Do you make
whatever
a whole
I
new
cook-
meal for
No,
her?
I'm not making different meals for the kids. Like, this is what we're eating, and I know it's something that everyone likes. It's not like I'm just making something crazy that no one in the family likes. So if I make dinner, everybody's eating that, or you're not eating. It sounds extreme, but it's like, I know you eat macaroni and cheese. Don't tell me today all of a sudden you don't like macaroni and cheese. Like, no, you're gonna eat it, or you're just gonna sit at the table until you eat it. Like, I'm really, like, I feel like I have to be extreme, but I think we will stress ourselves out trying to, like, okay, what? And plus, my kids have a lot of allergies too, so there's not a lot of things that they can have anyway. And there was a point where, at one point, where I was like, okay, let me make this for this one, this, and I was absolutely insane. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? You know, so everybody's eating the same.
So, for example, gentle parenting would tell you, like, okay, you tell your kid, I understand you don't want to eat that today, but you've eaten it before and you liked it, so I thought you'd like it. But next time I won't make that for you.
Okay.
But that's what we're having tonight.
Okay.
So, like, it's saying, like, you have to be understanding of, like, what they're trying to communicate to you, because then if you don't, you're shutting them down for their feelings.
But
like,
then
and then they don't want to say what they feel anymore.
But then where do you come, like? But then where does it come into where when they're like honestly bullshitting with us? Because you're like, we had macaroni and cheese. Like, all of a sudden you don't like it. Like, I feel like they're just messing with us. So then you get frustrated because you're like, I know you're eating this. You're just messing with me. Like, you know. So how do you figure out, like, that? It just seems like a lot.
Like, and I can't, now that I'm thinking about it with my 13-year-old, I've tried discussing things with him because I know we're like that, and I would probably have appreciated it, but he is such a little smartass that he like kind of jokes about it, like, oh, okay, let's talk, mama, or let's do this, and I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, you're just totally milking it now. Like, he crosses the line. Right? And then teenaging, I don't know if that's a word. When you cross that threshold, everything changes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thanks again for teaching me what gentle parenting is.
Well, so with that being said, I'm not knocking it, because I hear that it works for some people, and I can see that working. And I think that opening that line of communication for your kids to be able to express themselves is also good. And I'm not saying, like, just because I personally don't gentle parent, but I communicate with my children. I give them options. Like, you know, even like in the morning with my daughter with her clothes, I've set out 3 outfits. You pick which one you want, but it's one of those 3 outfits. So it's not like I'm just like, no, setting everything. I want her to have her own personality and everything. And
each kid is different. Even if you have a whole freaking clan, you're not going to parent the same.
You just got to do,
each their own.
To each their
own. And the goal is to get these people to become functioning adults.
Exactly. In the real world. Well, Darlene, thank you so much for coming on this show. And I appreciate your truth and, like, what the hell is gentle parenting? Perfect.
And good luck with the baby.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully I keep my sanity afterwards.
Well, we will see you next time.
Bye. If you enjoyed this episode and want to keep hearing more, would you let us know by subscribing to this podcast and YouTube, and hit the little like and heart button. This allows us to help more mamas to feel less alone in motherhood, and will also automatically notify you when we throw out a new episode.